In fact, there's no denial about the fact that the situation in Mariupol remains to be extremely dire. And in fact, yesterday when we spoke to the advisor to the Minister of Defense here in Ukraine, he categorically admitted that the situation is very difficult for the Ukrainian forces. And that's the reason why they're making these last-minute pleas once again to the Western nations to pitch in, especially when it comes to heavy weaponry, the equipment that is basically needed to defend Mariupol. Having said that, whether at all the city of Mariupol has fallen into the hands of the Russians, that's still not very clear. Russians have made multiple claims in the past which have turned out to be completely false, especially when it comes to the psyops that the Russians have basically indulged in. But as far as the Ukrainians are concerned, remember, on the ground they are still giving a very tough fight. On the eastern side, where the war has basically now got into, the focus right now is that the Russians who are basically advancing from the Donbas region to a place called Kramatorsk, that's where there have been persistent rocket attacks that are taking place, and the focus right now is to basically defend those very areas, the eastern side, where now latest intelligence inputs suggest that Russia is trying to create a land corridor starting from within the Russian territory through the eastern side of Ukraine, the Donbas region, into Crimea. But the biggest, I would say, the impediment here is that Mariupol entirely needs to be taken into the Russian control for that land corridor to be completed, is to try and put out some sort of an imagery that they have won, a strategic win before the May victory day. That's on the 9th of May. Before that, perhaps what they would essentially want to do is project that they have basically got control of the eastern side of Ukraine and ensuring that Ukraine is cut off from the Sea of Azov, as well as, for that matter, the Black Sea. That's where the entire concentration is.
Well, that was Shawal explaining the situation in Mariupol, which is in the south of Ukraine, abutting the Sea of Azov, and the manner in which the Russians have really laid siege to the Azovstal steel plant, where some Ukrainians are stuck, including, of course, Ukrainian armed forces. But then what's happening up north? Russian strategy of concentrating on the east, but what's happening, say, for example, in the capital Kiev? Another report by Shawan. Take a look.
Reason for the decisive victory in the Battle of Kiev was because the Ukrainians did manage to cut off the movement of the Russian troops towards the capital city of Kiev. This is one such bridge which played a pivotal role during the battle that was raging in Irpin, Kostomal and Borodyanka, and they were unable to move any forward simply because this particular bridge that you see, which is basically just few kilometers away from the capital city of Kiev, was blown apart. What you see today is once again the Ukrainians have started rebuilding this bridge, which is not very far from Irpin. They started rebuilding this entire bridge so that the communication lines can be on. And once again, as you see, people have started moving towards the capital city of Kiev. On the other side, as you see, the cars moving towards the capital city of Kiev. Now, within days of the retreat, we are now seeing Ukraine is now trying to rebuild those very places, be it in Irpin, be it in Bucha, or even for that matter in Borodyanka. And these highways that you see, which connects the capital city of Kiev to other places like Zhytomyr, Rivne, as well as the western part of Ukraine, they've started rebuilding this entire area, which will give you a glimpse of the raging battle between mid-March and the first week of April. And this is what remains right now, what you see on the other side of this bridge. Now, this highway was the epicenter of that battle that started sometime end of February, continued all the way till end of March. This is the very place that was being used by the 35th Combined Arms Army of the Russian troops to move towards Kiev. But remember, just a day later, they faced one major challenge, and that challenge was they did not have enough fuel for their tanks, and that's the reason why they were caught off guard. For days they were basically encircled by the Ukraine soldiers, and they carried out this entire battle on this particular highway. A month later, the second phase of this war has already begun, with the focus now essentially being on the eastern side of Ukraine, the Donbas region. What Ukraine says at this stage is that They are facing this major challenge because of not enough weaponry to tackle the Russians. They're hoping that the West is going to amp up their help to Ukraine, hoping that in the days to come they would be getting enough heavy weaponry which is not exactly what they were using in the initial phase of this war. With video journalist Surendra Singh Rawat, this is Shavan Sen reporting from Kiev Oblast.